Hi, lovely people. So today I'm really excited because I am with the lovely Emma Staddon, who is an EFT practitioner, and she helps people with things such as weight loss and relationships. So welcome, Emma. I'm really pleased that you've agreed to come here and talk to me today. I've become more and more aware of EFT over the last few years because quite a few of my patients are actually practitioners. And I'd like you to tell us more about EFT and what it stands for. So over to you.
Thank you. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's also known as tapping. So if you look on the internet, you kind of like Google both, so EFT or tapping, you'll find the same thing essentially. EFT, as the name suggests, it really helps people to release emotions. Now, what EFT is based on is the idea that we are full of energy, right? We're energetic beings. And what we have is like a meridian system within our bodies or in our energetic spheres. And what happens is sometimes things get stuck, like limiting beliefs or negative emotions get stuck in this meridian system. Now, the beauty of EFT, and that causes problems. That can cause us some serious problems.
It certainly does.
The emotions and limiting beliefs essentially affect our behaviour. So people normally get very upset about the behaviour, you know, their life results, and they want to resolve that. So what we do with regards to EFT is we tap on certain acupressure points. So it's on the face and body. So you might, you know, tap here the eyebrow, on the side of the eye and under the eye. And what happens is we tap on these points, which are at the end of these kind of meridian channels. And what happens is energy is cleared through these meridian channels. And as a result, you clear emotions and limiting beliefs.
Brilliant.
And there's kind of three things that you can use EFT for. One is emotions, another one is limiting beliefs, and another one is memories, when people have unpleasant or traumatic memories. So EFT is utterly fabulous. I've worked with people before where I've done tapping and they had anger about a certain situation, and that anger about that particular situation went within 30 seconds. Within 30 seconds of literally tapping on these acupressure points. So it's a fabulous technique. Once people learn how to use it, they can then kind of use it on their own, but it's best to learn how to use it first. But there are things you have to say when you're tapping on the points. So it helps if a practitioner kind of helps you with that. But essentially just tapping on your own potentially would make a positive difference.
Amazing. Okay, so what kind of things can it help with? I know it can help with anxiety, and as you just said then, emotions, but what other things can it help with? Give us an example.
Okay. It can help with any problem that is caused by an emotion, a negative emotion, a limiting belief, that kind of holds you back, because limiting beliefs affect your behavior, hold you back.
We've all got them.
Yeah, and traumatic memories or unpleasant memories. So that's the three things that it can really help with. In realistic terms, because obviously people want to know about, you know, how does it help them? Yes. So anxiety is massive. Anxiety is really, really good for anxiety. There's been studies found where it actually changes the brain. And it can reduce the impact on the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that is associated with kind of fight or flight. So anxiety is just utterly fabulous. I use it for relationships because many people have limiting beliefs or emotions that affect their relationships. I have had clients where they've got traumatic memories from their past that have created limiting beliefs that affects their emotions and therefore affects their relationships. So I have to go back and I have to look at the memories and kind of take out the negative emotion associated with the memories and kind of change them essentially. Another one is weight loss. You know, I do emotional eating because emotional eating is definitely associated with emotions. Emotional eating is quite complex. People don't quite realize that, is that what I have to do is I have to go back to memories that are causing the emotional eating, or I can look at the emotions like anger. Anger is big for emotional eating. Many people don't know this, anger. And you can reduce the anger about that particular situation, whether it's current or past. But another big one with regards to emotional eating, the majority of people that have an emotional eating issue, they have positive memories of food. And it's those positive memories that lead them to eat. So they experience a negative emotion, and that's one part of it. They then have a positive emotion in their subconscious mind that leads them to think, I'm really stressed, or I'm really bored, or I'm lonely, I'm experiencing a negative emotion. What can I do to change that? Oh, I know, based on my previous experiences, I eat food. because there's an association between food and excitement and
like a learned memory.
Absolutely. So with regards to emotional eating, and the EFT is good for this, is you can tap on negative emotions and negative memories, but also positive memories. So you can de-link it, you kind of reduce the link.
Fantastic.
But even success blocks, that's another one. If people are procrastinating, it's normally because they've got a belief about the goal or the journey. So what you can do is you can change the beliefs about how they perceive the goal, like the task, and how they perceive the journey associated with it. Confidence and self-esteem is another one. Many people in the world feel like they're not good enough. And as a result, they don't have the careers they want, or they don't have the relationships they want, or not feeling good enough can just affect so many different areas of people's lives. So people could feel confident in so many areas, but there'll be one area where they don't, because we have levels of self-esteem associated with different areas. So that's another one. If people don't feel good enough and that's affecting any aspect of their lives, then they potentially can change the limiting beliefs and the feelings and move forward. Another big one, final one I mentioned, is health problems. There are many people that have health problems that are associated with stress and anxiety. And the beliefs they have, and the subconscious mind is very powerful in terms of creating health problems for some people. So you potentially could look at beliefs and emotions and previous experiences that are leading people to having health problems. So I had a client once where I wasn't actually working on pain, but I was just working with emotional eating. But it was discovered that she had some anger from the past. Now, she had had a bad pain in her back for 10 years. And we did tapping on anger. So nothing to do with the shoulders, nothing to do with that. Within 25 minutes, that pain had gone down to 0. So it's an 8 to a 0 within 25 minutes, and she'd had that for, I think it's like 8 to 10 years. So it's amazing how emotions potentially can cause some health problems. That's another thing that can be useful.
And when the emotion is released, how does that emotion stay away, or do you have to keep working with it for a period of time?
What I've noticed is it depends on the scenario. So people normally have an emotion, you have to get very super specific. So if you've got anger, if you're just tapping on anger, that could be about different scenarios. So you have to get super specific.
Get right to that root, where the anger's stemming from.
Yes, and it's normally like the belief. So I do like emotion, belief, and where it is in the body, because it kind of gets stuck in the body. So that's important, an important part. So if someone's really angry because their husband does X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't tap on anger. I'd tap on anger because my husband does X, Y, and Z. You have to get like super specific. So normally you can clear the emotion associated with that specific situation, and that will go. But then what will happen is, because that's been released and cleared, then sometimes something else comes up. So it might be anger about another situation.
Like that onion layer that I work with in homeopathy, it's that unraveling to get to that deeper causation.
Sometimes you'll have that. In fact, you'll often have that, to be honest. But the beauty of EFT, and I love this, is you clear a negative emotion about a scenario, and then you have what I call in our world is a cognitive shift, where because that emotion's gone, you just suddenly think about the scenario differently. It's really crazy but fabulous simultaneously. So you're literally like, oh, I think differently. Even though you're just literally taking the emotion out, it changes the way you think about a situation and how you behave. It's literally marvelous, absolutely, and it can often take place within minutes, I've found.
Amazing. And so if somebody saw you for something like you've just explained, when would they need another session?
Right, so it's up to the individual and how often they want them. But if someone comes to me, this is what I advise, especially if they've never done EFT before, I think you've got to create momentum. So normally they'll come to me, wait a week in between. I wouldn't have a session in that week, because you have to give it time to kind of settle. Because sometimes if I do EFT on myself, sometimes I find there's no change initially, but I'll go to bed and the next morning I feel differently. It's almost like I had my
working at a deeper level.
It takes like a little while. So you give it normally a week. It's in the beginning, it's best to have one a week. And then when people are a bit more confident with it, because they can use it themselves in between sessions, once they learn how to do it properly, I wouldn't do it if you don't know how to do it properly, because it can trigger people. It can trigger emotions. So it's important to be safe. Start with once a week, and then after X number of weeks or beyond, then maybe have one every 2 weeks, and then potentially go one every 3 weeks. It depends on the client, but I'd start with just one a week, just for them to get used to it, and to also have someone to help them.
And obviously, depending on what they're coming to you for, if do you, in between sessions, if you think they could do it on their own safely in between sessions, say when they start to go to their 2 weeks, do you show them the tapping areas and how they can do a little top up in between?
Yeah, I normally do that in sessions. So if someone comes to me, never done it before, people find it remembering the tapping points a bit challenging. Yes. So, remembering, but there are videos on YouTube. In my world, they're known as tap alongs. So you can kind of tap along and you say the words that the person is saying. They're very general, so they have some benefit, but they're not specific enough to really help that specific individual. So I do have some people that use them and they benefit, which is great. But I teach people normally in the first session, this is how you tap. They kind of get the groove of it because we'll do it a few times. And then I'll teach them, because there's a couple of things you've got to do when you're tapping. So I just let them know you need to do this X, Y, and Z. And then you potentially can create your own scripts, your own specific scripts, which are far more beneficial than tap alongs. But people can
so relative to you, aren't they? So you and your problem. Okay, well, that is amazing. We'll probably get you back at some other point and maybe show the tapping points and do a little tap along with my audience and your audience. So if somebody, thank you so much for coming along today. I find EFT fascinating, and especially as I'm learning more about it from people and seeing what it can do, and it can release those emotions and those negative beliefs. But how can people find you and find more details about you?
They head over to my website where I've got information about EFT, and what I do, what my background is, etc. I've also got blogs. I'm going to start to write more blogs as well. There's blogs on there about emotional eating and anxiety, stress and relationships, various aspects, relationships, breakups and dating. But my website is www.themindmermaid.com.
Oh, I love that. The Mind Mermaid. That's fantastic. Brilliant. I absolutely love that. So I will also put that in the link as well when I share this video. And thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you for asking me, Tracy. It's been fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you.